Mr. President. I just want to inform the body that I had a very good conversation with Secretary Kerry just a few minutes ago. As many of you may have been following the news, there was a statement attributed to Secretary Kerry that the possible military dimensions of the Iranian nuclear program was no longer a priority in terms of reconciling what they have been doing in a military fashion with their nuclear program. Some of the words were to the fact that there'll be no mea culpa required. I've just got off the phone with him, and he indicated to me that possible military dimensions of the program in terms of the Iranian past behavior is very much on the table and essential to any agreement. April the 8th, 2015, here's what Secretary Kerry said. When asked in April if Iran must disclose past military-related nuclear activities as part of an agreement, Secretary Kerry said, they have to do it, it will be done. If there's going to be a deal, it will be done. So Secretary Kerry reaffirmed to me that statement. I appreciate him calling me. I just want the body to understand that a good deal with Iran would be a blessing, a bad deal would be a nightmare. The IAEA has not had access to the sites they need in terms of evaluating the possible military dimensions of the Iranian program. They've not been allowed to go to Parchin, where we suspect that high explosive detonation was being tested as part of their nuclear weapons ambition. There are three things that the IAEA wants to look at before they can pass judgment over how far the Iranian nuclear program has gone down the military road. And I can't imagine any deal that doesn't fully and completely answer every question about possible military dimensions of the Iranian nuclear program, because if you don't understand what they've done in the past, you don't know where you are in terms of going forward. You can't have a meaningful inspection regime until you understand what they try to do in terms of a military dimension. So I really do appreciate Secretary Kerry calling me. And the one thing we've learned about the Iranians and their nuclear program, they cannot be trusted. They have lied, they have cheated at every turn. There can be no wiggle room when it comes to the Iranians and a nuclear deal. Anytime, anywhere, inspections is absolutely a must. Understanding their possible military dimensions is an absolute essential ingredient along with others. So I'm glad to have received this phone call from Secretary Kerry, but all of us need to be aware of who we're dealing with when it comes to the Iranians and get every I dotted and every T crossed before you would even entertain a deal with the Iranians.
Senator, you for a question?
Absolutely.
Is it my understanding from the Senator's statement that Secretary Kerry is now saying that that was not an accurate quote of his, that,
yes,
that it was not urgent, that the previous activities concerning development of a nuclear weapon would be absolutely required?
Yes, he indicated that the statement that was attributed to him was taken out of context, and he reaffirmed to me on the phone that the possible military dimensions are an essential part of the deal, as he indicated on April the 8th, 2015. I think he's issuing a statement, or his office is right now. I think this is important for the body to understand that Secretary Kerry wants to clear up the record. I applaud him for that. I hope we can get a deal we all can live with. But at the end of the day, you've got to remember who we're dealing with in terms of the Iranians. They have lied, they have cheated, and when it comes to their military dimensions of their program, it is essential we know every detail before you can move forward with confidence.
Well, could I ask additionally, did the Senator from South Carolina have an opportunity to ask Secretary Kerry about the latest information concerning the Iranians are now supplying weapons to the Taliban, the same Taliban that has killed many hundreds of Americans and wounded thousands of others? In other words, did you have a chance to ask the Secretary why we are pursuing this agreement while the Iranians, latest being supplying arms to the Taliban to kill Americans, the support of the Shiite militias in Iraq, the support of the Houthis in other countries, including Yemen, the support of the Iranians for Hezbollah in Lebanon that are in Syria killing off the Free Syrian Army forces that we are supporting, and the continued development by Iran of a nuclear warhead and the vehicle with which to deliver it. I wonder if Senator from South Carolina had the chance to ask the Secretary of State about those events and situations that exist in the Middle East today.
No, I did not, and we talked specifically about his statements, but I understand the senator from Arizona's concern about the idea of doing an agreement with the Iranians that would give them money to fund what I think has been a very destructive war machine. From my point of view, we need to look at the Iranian behavior holistically and understand the consequences of flooding this administration with cash, the Iranian administration with cash, given the fact that what they're doing today is using whatever resources they have under sanctions to destabilize the Mideast. I doubt if any additional funds, if sanctions were relieved, would go to build hospitals or roads. I think they would go into the activity you just described. But this conversation was limited to the statement attributed to him yesterday. I think all of us should be very attuned to what's going on with these negotiations. It's the most important decision any administration will make, probably in modern history. The consequences of a bad deal are enormous. You could start a nuclear arms race in the Mideast, and at the end of the day, the behavior of the Iranians, apart from their nuclear ambitions, is at best disturbing and should be, in my view, part of any negotiated package. But we are where we are, and I'm just glad to hear from the Secretary himself that possible military dimensions have to be fully explored and understood before you move forward with an agreement. So, thank you, Mr. President. With that, I yield and note the absence of the court.